In this video, we're talking about Major Hurricane Larry as it continues to pick up steam and head west. Also, we have some interesting areas of activity in the Gulf that we have to keep a very close eye on. And then we're looking at the forecast for the entirety of the United States to try to pinpoint how the weather will affect you. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. Hurricane Larry is now a major hurricane per the National Hurricane Center. Only 3 other seasons in the past have had 3 major hurricanes before September 4th. We're talking about 1969, 2004, 2005, and all of those hurricane seasons can be described with 2 words: hyperactivity. So that should give you an idea as to where we're going this season. And we've got a bunch to cover today, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the tropics and see what's up over there. All right, here's the latest National Hurricane Center tropical weather outlook. And as you can see, things are actually a little bit less active than what we've seen over the past couple weeks. Of course, we do have Major Hurricane Larry over here, but the only other thing we're watching right now is this area of interest in the Gulf of Mexico, okay? We've got a little disturbance that may try to wander its way up here into the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and form into possibly Tropical Storm Mindy. That's right, that's the next letter that we're going to, and that could happen out here right in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. The Hurricane Center right now has a 30% chance of a cyclone formation within 5 days, but some of the models are definitely showing something is going to happen out here, and we're going to look at those in just a second. But first, let's get a real in-depth update on Larry over here. Let's go. All right, here is what Larry looks like on the satellite right now. And as you can see, Larry looks pretty organized out there right now, but the eye is all over the place, man. It's kind of like a mess out here as it has undergone multiple eye wall replacement cycles during its lifetime so far. This is usually a sign of intensification overall, but if you get too many of those EWRCs close together, it can delay the intensification process a little bit because that eye does have to be pretty well organized before the storm can really reach its full potential. But this thing definitely doesn't look like it wants to play around, as it does have good outflow out here. There's nice big convective towers forming near the center of circulation and then wrapping around. So I definitely believe that this is going to probably become a Category 4 hurricane at some point. And by that time, we will probably see a much more organized and circular eye here in the middle of the storm, okay? So let's get an update from the National Hurricane Center here. Right now, winds are at 115 miles an hour, making it a Category 3, and it's moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. So it has finally made that west-northwest curve that we were waiting for it to make. It was below the 15 north line for a little while, for actually a much longer time than what it's supposed to have been. But now it's finally made it north of there, and it is going towards the west-northwest. We expect this to remain a major hurricane all the way up until it gets really close to Bermuda, okay? I know we've got people that watch this channel that live over here in Bermuda, and I know we also have people that don't necessarily live in Bermuda, but have family members and friends that are over there. So I want to do everything I can to make sure you are really updated on this. Thankfully, it still seems at this point like Larry won't directly impact the east coast of the United States. However, the westward trend that I was talking about in the last video has happened, okay? The forecast tract has shifted a lot further west than what we originally thought. And if that trend were to continue, we might have something to be concerned about. But thankfully, I think there's a really, really good chance that this is not going to directly hit the United States, like literally the smallest chance at this point. But if you're in Bermuda, prepare for a major hurricane, okay? Once again, this is already a Category 3. It's going to intensify into a Category 4, and we'll talk about what strength it could be as it goes by you on the weather models. All right, here is the GFS model, okay? This is the one I really like to look at. Really puts it in the context how every aspect of the weather across the entire, northern hemisphere on this side of the world, goes into affecting the development of hurricanes over here. That's why I like to use the global forecast model so we can see the whole picture. So here's our big storm Larry down here at around, September 4th at 11 p.m. That's later this evening into tonight. See, at this point, it's still intensifying. It's still strengthening, okay? And by Sunday, September 5th, once again, we might have a Category 4 or something. But the way you tell on the 850 millibar heights, which is what we're looking at here, this is the wind speed and heights, or the wind speed and the pressure lines, is you want to see these lines more tightly packed here. You see how the center there, other than the eye, just looks like a big, black circle? That means that those isobars, those lines that represent pressure, are really tightly packed together, and that's what indicates a very strong storm, okay? But if you see those lines starting to unpack a little bit, that means that we're experiencing a little bit of destabilization and a decrease in power of the storm, which is what is expected to happen as it starts to make this northward turn here. Now, if you live in Bermuda, there's a chance that a very big storm is going to hit you. Prepare for a major hurricane. But I really don't think that this is going to just continue to intensify and intensify and intensify until it gets to you. There's going to be a little bit of a weakening phase right before it hits the island. So let's put the GFS further into motion. You can see those lines are getting a little bit less tightly packed here as it approaches Bermuda. We're just off to the south and east here on Wednesday, September 8th at 11 a.m. This is still 4 days away as of this point, so the track can change. But as of right now, it does look like the storm's going to be approaching Bermuda from the south and east. Probably still a Category 3 storm. It's probably still a major hurricane at this point, all the way into the evening hours of Wednesday, September 8th. That's when you're going to start feeling those outer bands there in portions of Bermuda. Now, we do expect the storm to actually directly impact the island here around Thursday, September 9th. And according to this model, it's going to go just to the east, okay? And that would be a good thing. The area where the storm is the strongest would definitely miss the island, but there would definitely still be impacts felt here, okay? And then as you can see, as we go all the way into the future, this thing gets caught up in this big trough over here and then just kind of just goes away, really gets sucked up there into the northern polar circular motion of those low pressure systems, and we don't really have to worry about it much at all, okay? So once again, I really think that's a likely path. It might go a little bit further west than this, or it might go a little bit further east than this, but I really do think that for the most part, that big trough that's digging down here in the northeastern portion of the United States is going to protect us from a direct impact from this storm. Now remember my words, direct impact, okay? Once the storm gets pretty close here, we're only about 700 or 800 miles away from coastline here once the storm gets to this point at Wednesday, September 8th. This thing's going to be flinging water towards the east coast over here, and we could see life-threatening storm swells from in all the favorite vacation places over here this time of year, from Charleston, South Carolina, through Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, North Carolina, maybe even Virginia Beach, and all these mid-Atlantic and northeastern beaches up here. There's going to be some big-time waves out there, that's for sure, and then of course rip currents and all that stuff. And the closer that this storm tracks to the United States, the worse that will become. That's really good news for surfers, I know, but it's really bad news for just general vacationers, as that could ruin your trip if you can't get out there in the ocean. I understand that, but unfortunately that does look like almost a certainty as of right now. Okay, so that was one model, the global forecast model, looking at the track and path and intensity of Major Hurricane Larry, but there are a lot more out there, so I want to show you a compilation of all of them. We call this the spaghetti plots, and this puts together a bunch of different models and what they think is going to happen. And as you can see, there's a pretty good agreement now that it's going to take this path right here. Now, just yesterday, there were some models that were showing this thing coming all the way west of Bermuda and possibly impacting portions of Nova Scotia and places up here in the northeast. But now it's actually kicking back off to the east a little bit, which is very good news because that means it will affect less people. The most consistent trend that we have seen since the inception of this storm has been a westward trend. In fact, the National Hurricane Center's cone of uncertainty has just really moved far west since the beginning stages of this storm, or at least the beginning stages of us tracking this storm. So this thing very well could start trending west again, but as of right now, it does look like this is going to be a best case scenario, as this thing may not affect any people at all, and it's just a fish storm. Unfortunately, the fish can't watch these videos, so they're not going to see it coming, but I think they'll be all right for the most part. All right, now let's talk about potential future tropical storm Mindy here in the Gulf of Mexico. Obviously, the southeastern portions of Louisiana are still recovering from Major Hurricane Ida as it just passed through. Unfortunately, since we are in a hyperactive season, I do think we're going to have some more development down here in the Gulf of Mexico very soon, okay? So this is what could become Tropical Storm Mindy over the next little bit. Watch this wave, watch this area of interest here, just north of the Yucatan Peninsula, heading into the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. By the way, what we're looking at here is the precipitable water model, okay? And this shows us how much moisture is in the air that can be converted into rainfall, and it's just a really good way of visualizing where that spin is, where the moisture is spinning around low pressure systems, so we can kind of see where these storms are going to pop up and be. We're going to start this around Sunday, September 5th at 10 p.m. Because that's when this thing really starts cranking up. Look at all that moisture just streaming into the Gulf here. That's going to lead to a bunch of thunderstorms, and those thunderstorms are going to organize around a low pressure system system and likely form some sort of tropical depression or maybe even a tropical storm. Look at that second infiltration of moisture. That starts to spin. There's your storm, possibly around Tuesday, September 7th. We have a tropical depression or tropical storm, and it does look like in the very beginning, it takes aim for the exact place that just got hit by Hurricane Ida. And I do believe that if this is the path that this storm takes, we are definitely going to see some heavy rain and some impacts over here. But the weird thing that happens here is, watch this. You see this up here in the north? Let me go just a little bit further into the future. You see this area of blue that's coming down? That's a cold front. That's a really strong frontal boundary that's pushing down into the southern portions of the United States. And that thing is actually going to completely stall this storm system and then kind of fling it off to the east there. Look at that. And then it might make an additional landfall, maybe as a tropical storm once again over here in portions of Florida, over there on the panhandle of Florida. And then look at all this colder and drier air just diving all the way down into Mexico. I'm not sure if I 100% buy this right now. Okay, that's a pretty strong setup coming in to, completely throw off the track of a tropical storm. But I'm not saying that has never happened before. Okay, so right now, this is still, 120, 150 hours away. It's going to change a lot. But as of right now, it does look like a storm's going to form and head towards Louisiana. And if this frontal boundary actually comes in and kicks it away, kind of like a baseball bat and a baseball there, it might make a double landfall here in Florida. It's too early to say whether or not that's definitely going to happen, but it's definitely something that we've got to watch out for. Everybody along the Gulf Coast needs to go ahead and assume that there's going to be some sort of tropical storm that will be affecting them sometime between now and September 12th. Now, if we go way out here into La La Land on the GFS, we're past 200 hours. It does show another possibly big storm forming down here in the southwestern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, and it shows that organizing and possibly turning into another tropical storm or maybe even a hurricane, and then impacting Texas right there, and then possibly hanging around Louisiana for a while, bringing torrential downpours and rain. But I don't want to talk about that too much because that's really far in the future. And as you guys know, these models are wrong a lot, especially whenever you look, 200 or 300 hours out in the future. So we're not going to worry about that one right now, but that could be another storm that we have to watch in the future. All right, now let's talk about the forecast for the whole United States. We did this just the other day, but I figured I'd give it an update. If you want to keep up with the date and time, it's always going to be displayed right there above my head. We're starting off at around the time this video comes up, and what we're looking at here are the 500 millibar height anomalies. Okay, so this basically shows us where the troughs and the ridges are. Okay, and if we know where the troughs and the ridges are, we know what kind of weather to expect. Usually troughs are associated with colder weather, and usually ridges are associated with drier weather and hotter weather. And it's the places in between those that we can see most of the rainfall. So let me push this forward and look at this trough over here. This is a big bowling ball of a trough that's going to buckle the jet stream here in the northeastern portion of the United States and southern portions of Canada as we get into later this weekend. And this is actually the thing that's going to, kind of swat away Hurricane Larry. If it wasn't for this, we could end up seeing a situation where Hurricane Larry actually did impact the northeastern portion of the United States. But thanks to this trough right here, I do think it's going to be batted away. Additionally, with this trough, we're going to probably see a significant amount of cooler air work down into this portion of the United States specifically. Also, since we have this big ridge over here with much warmer temperatures right there in the middle, I do expect that we are going to see some thunderstorms. Okay, I think that this is the perfect setup, guys, for this area. To see, a constant inundation of thunderstorms. We see stuff like this every year. Usually it happens in July, but we get this downward motion of just storm system after storm system, and I think that's the pattern that we are entering here. So if you're anywhere from South Dakota into Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio Valley region, this right here, definitely be on alert because we could be seeing a lot of storms. Not necessarily thinking about like a widespread rain or flash flooding event, but storms. And possibly severe storms, multiple chances as we go into the future. So let's put this further into motion and look at that bowling ball just continuing to dig down a trough there all the way into the eastern portion of the United States. And it tries to let up there right at the end, but another one forms right behind it, and all the way out at Tuesday, September 7th, we are dealing with another situation exactly the same. Storms in the middle here, colder air, warmer air, drier air over here. That's the pattern that we're in. And if we go even further beyond that, we do see a little bit of a pattern change as we go all the way into the middle of September, okay? Monday, September 13th, we might see a little bit of a trough over here in the West Coast, which is very nice. We want to see that. That might bring some rain over there, some much needed rain, and also some cooler temperatures. And then we're going to see a big trough build over here on the East Coast, which will lead to higher temperatures and probably drier weather. Now, if we look at the precipitation total over the next 240 hours, really all of the United States is going to be pretty quiet as far as rainfall goes. Now, I do believe that this area is going to, experience some thunderstorms and possibly some severe weather, and you can see the heightened area of rainfall here. But once again, this is not prolific rain. Nobody in the U.S. is expected to see an extended period of above average rain over the next, once again, 240 hours all the way through September 13th. The only exception to that is if we do get a tropical storm or something like that forming down here in Texas, Louisiana, or anywhere along the Gulf Coast, that could definitely bring in some rain. But for the most part, we're all high and dry. We are getting a little bit of needed rain once we get that trough in here, possibly into areas of Nevada and Idaho. But for the most part, we are looking good out there. And if we look at the next 10 days as an average, the temperature anomalies over here are going to be, once again, because we had that constant ridge over here and that trough over here, we're going to see average or below average temperatures this side, and we're going to see above average to much above average temperatures on this side for at least, until that trough moves into the West Coast here. So that's a pretty much the weather picture over the next week or so, and I hope that was informative and helped you out there. All right, that's all the weather talk I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I can't even keep track of how many subscribers we have at this point, but if you have hit that subscribe button, I really do appreciate it. If you haven't, okay, go ahead and slap that like button, subscribe, and turn those notifications on, because as we get more developments with these tropical storms and hurricanes and possibly even severe weather as we go into the future, I'm going to be updating you on it, okay? If you want to really keep up with my thoughts on the weather, minute to minute, make sure you follow me on Twitter. That's the most important one. But then especially, Facebook and the Discord server, those are also really important as well. All of that information is down in the description. I would really appreciate to see you over there because it's kind of a faster, relay system than, just one video a day or one video every other day or something like that. All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.